CDPR recently made the choice to encourage people to actually play their game. This sounds really weird, but bear with me. I'm going to tell you about a problem that CDPR has had with Gwent for ages. A weird problem, a problem that's not easy to solve, and that is new player decks. I've gone ahead and pulled up some of the new player cards you get when you first join Gwent. You can actually sort by this. There's a little section, I guess my face blocks it, but under card set, there is starter set, and you can pick it, bring up all the starter cards for each. You get some neutral cards. They're okay. I mean, Geralt's fine. Lacerate's, it's okay. Thunder's Egg, Bull's fine. Thunderbolt's pretty bad, and Elder Bear. And you get some Nilfgaard cards, but if you start looking at the faction cards, they all kind of stink, right? Notice there's nothing very high provision in there. There are some okay golds here, like Anna's fine, but nothing very good. Nothing that you'd say, wow, is 2 digits. And obviously there's no Syndicate starter deck. Nothing 2 digits in terms of provision except Geralt. Why is that? Well, CDPR is a problem, and it's a weird one. Imagine a new player signs up for your game. If then I give them a great deck, or even an okay deck, but I use every provision, which is typically how you want to make a deck. If I were to go over to any of the decks I build, here, Viper. I use every provision. More provisions I use, the better quality of card I have, so use every one your leader ability gives you. However, for a new player, right, they're given hopefully a deck list or 2. They don't have to make it themselves. You want the barrier to entry to start playing Gwent as low as possible. They don't know what a good deck looks like, so just give them something that's playable. The problem for CDPR is, what if you nerf something? Like, what if I had a really competitive deck and I nerf Swears up 1 provision? Some other deck in the game, maybe a really refined deck that pro rank players are playing, turns out Swears is the key card that is overpowered. It has to go from 7 provision to 8 provision. That's okay, fine. But all of a sudden, a new player can't play their deck anymore, right? And they don't have a lot of cards. They don't have a lot of substitution. They also don't know what they're doing necessarily when they're swapping in and out cards. That's something you have to learn. That's very problematic. The new player, because of a bounce patch, can't play the game with the deck they were given by CDPR. CDPR's solution to this has been, give them crappy cards. Give them low provision cards. I guess they're not technically have to be crappy, but the low provision stuff. Make a big provision buffer. That way, if there's a bounce patch and 3 cards get nerfed that our new players get, no big deal. They're missing like 10 provision in their deck. Nothing changes. CDPR's bounce team also doesn't have to worry about that. Developers don't have to go back and be like, oh crap, the entire new player experience generates decks that people can't play. How do you fix it though? Because here's an issue. If I'm a new player and I'm grinding up the ladder, eventually I'm going to hit a point where people will just simply have better cards. Actually, let me go back to deck builder. Because there's going to be a point where I'm queuing along, and then some person has opened up a Brathens in a pack, right? Brathens is a very strong card. And I'm going to run into somebody playing that and be like, wow, I don't have that. That's a legendary card. I'm playing Nilfgaard. Maybe they're playing Nilfgaard. And even though I think I'm playing better, this card's just too strong. They get to use more provisions in their deck because they have a high provision card. They just shove it in there and they win. They don't win off skill. They don't win off of good draws, a little bit of luck. They don't win off of playing well or thinking or reading what I'm going to do and countering it. They won because they have a 10 provision card and my deck only uses 150 out of 165 provisions. How do you fix it? And CDPR finally has an answer, and it's brilliant. It's a great answer. It's a 10 out of 10 answer. I hope they do more of it. This is a new reward book. I'm hoping that the blue one means it's tutorial and that it's staying. I heard somewhere someone say it was seasonal. I don't think it is. I think this is tutorial. I think it's staying. And if you've not checked it out, it's ballin'. Let's go ahead. I'll open up one of my favorite factions. I have a soft spot for monsters. It used to be my favorite faction. These days, it rotates based on what I'm playing. If you look at it, 1 reward point, you get a keg, which is actually a really good deal. Let me go ahead and take that off the books. And then another point, oh, you get a Winter Queen. That's an epic card. That's a gold card. That is provisions. Teaches you what devotion is. Frost. Wow. Go along. Oh, Egern. And notice, you just have to play a single game. You have to play 1 game. You got to actually learn how to figure out how the reward book works. Play 1 game. Then you go here, oh, play a game. Here, Got Conquerors. You look like a devotion kind of theme. You got some Wild Hunt cards. Egron works amazing with Ozril, one of the cards given in the starter decks. You get Ardgif. You get Eridan. You get Naglfar. Parasite. It points you in a direction. Hey, check out Wild Hunt Frost, man. It's fantastic. It's a really interesting, I feel very obligated. It's like such good bang for your buck. Like, how am I not going to be mildly tempted? I really shouldn't do this, but I'm going to. Look at Nilfgaards. Vigo. Bribery. 2 Slave Hunters. Okay, that's okay. Menno. Brathens. War Council. Stefan. Wow. Brathens. Brathens is given. You just have to go through a couple of games. You can get Brathens with 10 keys, or less, 10 keys. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 keys. 9 keys, and you have to play. I don't think you have to win. You have to, okay, hold on. Win, finish. Well, you have to finish 2 games, win 3 games, and 2 of those games that you win have to be of Nilfgaard. Okay, so 5 games. Can you play for 5 games? Can you? Rulebook for Skellige. Dogger. Hemdall. Talk about a great card to give, right? Because it's such high provision. It can fill up a lot of the empty space for Skellige. 2 War Clans. Okay. Babjorn. Blood Eagle. Newly reworked to be even stronger. Wild Boar of the Sea, which just got buffed. I know my face is blocking it. Champion's Charge. War of the Clans. Like, geez. This is really strong. Northern Realms. I'm going to go for all of them. We're going to do this in, as well as Squayatel. Bear with me a moment. Boimir. Queen Adalia, or whatever her name is. 2 frigates, which are also a good provision, like filling bronze, right? They're 6 apiece. Reinforcements. I'm blocking it. I'll move over for it real quick, even though it's a smaller image. Prince Lanceus. Amphibious Assault. Natalis. This might be the best of them. Northern Realms is loaded. I can hang over here. It makes more sense, doesn't it? Squayatel. Melina. Call the Forest. I have to play a game and win a game to get Call the Forest. 3 keys. Or 4 keys. 4 keys. 2 Nature's Rebukes. Why would you give Nature's Rebukes? Forest Protector. Grantboar. Great Oak, which is insane. 13, another great filler for a provision. And Shaping Nature. That's insane. I also like, worth casually noting, how you have Syndicate right here. There is no Syndicate starter deck yet. But boy, that's interesting. Worth noting. A final thing to note before I wrap up is, speaking of all that, is that this is a wonderful thing that I hope CDPR actually expands on. I hope they actually make more trees like this in the future. Or maybe a follow-up tree to this, where at the end is, after all I get through all of these, there's maybe like a reward that only unlocks if I hit all 3. Or when I complete the tree, there's another tree that has more monster cards at a higher key value. Because one of the issues card games face is, especially Gwent. Gwent will absolutely face this because Gwent is a game where the cards don't rotate. You just keep all the same cards, right? Eventually, this starts to become a problem. Let's actually just look at Nilfgaard. This becomes a problem in terms of how many cards do I need to collect to have the collection? How many cards do I need to be competitive? And after a bounce patch and new cards become good and some of my cards become bad, how many cards do I need to change out and reacquire? The more cards in the game there are, the more likely players will have trouble maintaining competitive decks patch to patch. Especially if you're trying to bounce 2 or 3. I'm lucky, I have a full collection. But someone who might say, I really like playing monsters in Nilfgaard, and when I get bored of one, I play the other, might need 10 to 15 new cards per patch. And that can be taxing. That can be tedious, especially if you're just playing casually. I hope that a way to counteract new cards being added is start making the older cards from like the base set more available through those kind of trees. Joachim is 200 to get. It's not a hard card to give away, but what a powerful card it would be to give away. It opened up a lot of decks. Kahir. On it. I don't really care which cards they are, as long as they have a potential for some competitive relevance and are usually from the older stuff, right? Give it from the older stuff so there people are encouraged to spend money on the newer stuff. Keeps the game going from the monetary perspective. I think that's all really important. And if Gwent is going to grow and be a popular game, avoiding this massive pile of legacy cards you need to play is going to be key. Unless, of course, we're going towards a rotating format, but I've never gotten that feel of Gwent. It feels like every card fits in this massive puzzle, and it's very carefully placed. So I don't think we're going there anytime soon, which means it's all the more pressing. More and more cards are given to players through things like the reward book, which is a brilliant system. All in all, CDPR is doing a great job by your newer players. This is such a big step up from what was previously done, which was a go get him Tiger, we'll give you some keys, figure it out approach. Now there's a bit of hand holding. Now there's a way to get good cards into your deck very early on as a new player so that you're not wasting provisions and have something maybe not as refined as other players who've been playing longer, but at least something mildly comparable in power level. The difference between like 15 provisions is unbelievable, right? A single nerf to like Jackpot, I remember Jackpot, I think it was 15 or 16, dropped down to 14 or 13, completely irrelevant. That's a 3 provision drop. Yeah. All in all, I love what CDPR is doing. It's well done. I hope they do more of it. I'll see you next time. Shout out to Ahmed Ali, pseudonym 81 in McRandar for all their generous support via the Patreon.